AVV Nation, all of YouTube, what's going on? My name is Patrick France, Senior Instructor here at VectorVest, and today I've got a trading idea that you need to add to your radar or your shopping list to make sure that you don't miss out on some easy money-making opportunities here. So, if you want to see what that is, as always, smash that like button to help us out with the YouTube algorithms, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and stick around as I break down everything that you need to know to capture an easy money-making opportunity here. With that, let's get right into it. All right, so today I want to talk about Meta or Facebook. So they recently had an earnings announcement and they missed on revenue, but they beat on earnings per share. As you can see here, I have a little article and it talks about how one of the key things that people were worried about is their daily users. That seems to still be intact and people still seem to be using Facebook. Well, no surprise. Facebook's one of the biggest social media platforms out there. Another thing that they've been talking about is the lack of revenue since the new Apple changes that could potentially hurt their ad revenue that they're taking in. Because as we know, Facebook makes majority of their money off of the ad revenue. Well, even with the fact that Apple's new privacy changes have slowed some of the growth in their ad revenue down a little bit, they still came in slightly around, just actually slightly below estimates, but still pretty much right in line with what their projections were. Also, the fact you come down here, just to bring it into perspective a little bit, even with all the new challenges they're seeing, they're still noticing they're able to deliver 15% more advertising impressions than in the first quarter of 2021, but the price per ad is decreasing by about 8% from a year ago. So they're still making a lot of money off of the ad revenue. Even though their profit margins are decreasing slightly, they're still making bundles of cash off the ads. The other thing that we want to bring to attention is the fact that their earnings per share number actually improved and actually beat estimates. And that's because they're cutting expenses right now. So they're trimming the fat, making sure that they have everything set in place to be able to handle a slowdown and not spend too much money or have a high cash burn. So from a business standpoint and from a executive standpoint, they're doing the right things. They're cutting down where they can. They're trimming some of the fat off. They're still meeting their earnings. They're still making the ad revenue. Granted, not quite as much as what analysts expected, but still pretty much in line with what their projections were at the beginning of the year. So Facebook still has really solid fundamentals and is still, once again, the biggest social media platform out there. So that's where we wanted to start off with today, giving you guys a little bit of insight about their most recent earnings performance. Another interesting article that just came out today is Michael Burry, you may remember him from the movie The Big Short, actually just added Meta, Alphabet, and Discovery to his portfolio or Scion's portfolio, and he's also dumping some of his other heavy tech stocks that he owned as well. So he's dumping the bigger names and adding, once again, Google, adding Meta, and adding Discovery to the portfolio. And while his track record isn't 100%, he is still somebody that a lot of people follow that could have a big influence on a stock price because when people see him getting into it, they could join in as well. So this could be a nice little boost that we could see coming into their stock price in the very near future. But before we say right now is the time to get in, let's go ahead, take a look at the VectorVest analysis, and then we'll jump into the chart and break down the setup that we're currently seeing with it. So we'll get out of here. And so starting off with the VectorVest analysis, as always, we start off with the basic information. The company's name, the symbol, the exchange, the price, the dollar change, percent price change, but then we come to the value. And the value is where you really start to see the benefit of VectorVest that you're not going to be able to find anywhere else. The value is what we currently feel the stock is worth, and the way we use the value is we compare the price of the stock to its value. So right now, the price is currently under its value, therefore making this stock undervalued. And the VectorVest mantra is to buy safe, undervalued stocks that are rising in price in a rising market. Well, obviously the markets aren't rising, but we are starting to see potential rebounds off of these lows here over the last few days, which is definitely a positive sign here. But then after the value, the next four indicators, the RV, the RS, the RT, and the VST, are all cast on a scale of 0 to 2. So to keep it easy for yourself out there, all you have to remember is above one is good and below one is bad. So the first one we look at is RV, or relative value, which is looking at the long-term potential of the stock. 1.46 above 1 tells us it has great long-term potential. Next one is the RS, or the relative safety, basically the amount of risk involved in this stock compared to the average stock out there. Being above 1 tells us there's less risk associated with it because they have a really strong balance sheet and they're consistently beating earnings quarter over quarter, year over year. Then the third indicator is more of that technical indicator, the RT, or relative timing. Now, as we can see, it is slightly below 1 at 0.91. But when we start seeing the RT breaking above 1, that could be an early sign that that downtrend is now dissipating and we're starting to see a new uptrend on a short-term basis starting to form. So that's why it pays to be a VectorVest subscriber, so you can take advantage of it early and don't miss out on great opportunities. So definitely something to take a look at. And if you're interested, if you're not already a subscriber, click on the link down in the description below and sign up for the trial. Give it a go. As the old saying goes, seeing is believing. And then the VST, or value, safety, and timing vector, is a combination of all three of these summed up into one. So overall, the stock is favorable because it has really strong fundamentals. We just need to see that timing pick up a little bit, and therefore it has a hold rating currently. So that breaks down what we're seeing here with Facebook or Meta. Also, one last thing before we take a look at the chart, I do want to point out their forecasted earnings growth rate over the next 1 to 3 years is forecasted at 20% a year. It's telling us that the company is expected to continue to grow their earnings at roughly 20% a year over the next 1 to 3 years. That's definitely what you want to see in a stock that you're holding. So now that we all should have a good idea of what we're seeing here with Facebook, we should have an idea of the fundamentals, the technicals, well, sort of technicals for right now. Let's dive into the chart and get an even better picture of what's going on and talk about the setup that we see that could help you easily capture a great trade or a money-making opportunity. So we'll go ahead and just graph it real quick. And starting off in our graph, let's talk about what we see. So at the very top, we have the buy, hold, and sell rating bar that we can see the transitions at the top here. Then we also see the price is shown in candlesticks. We have a 3 and 8 exponential moving average to show short-term momentum. And then below there, we have the MACD, or the moving average convergence divergence, one of my favorite technical indicators I've been using a lot recently. And then down below, we have the volume, which can indicate conviction behind a move. So if you see a move higher or lower and you have strong volume on that move, that shows that there is a lot of conviction behind that, and that can be an indication of a major turning point. So what do we see here with Facebook? This is over the last year. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit to the last 3 months, let's say. So as we can see, here was their earnings. We'll go ahead, toss on earnings. You can see that here. Here is their earnings date. They had pretty positive earnings. Stock gapped up, moved higher. Once again, looking at volume. Volume is conviction. Strong volume, telling us that was a pretty substantial move and price point that we want to keep an eye on here. But what happened after that? It ran up a little bit higher, pulled back, and now starting to move sideways once again. And that's really where we start off with this setup. So if you've been following me for a long time, or even for the last 6-7 months or so, you know that one of my favorite technical chart patterns to look for is a wicked wedge or consolidation pattern. It's identified by a pattern of lower highs, but at the same time higher lows, showing consolidation. So let me go ahead to the freehand line at the top and we'll add on the lower highs here. And then also the higher lows. So as you can see, right now we are consolidating on a short-term basis with strong volume pushing us higher, indicating more buying than selling currently going on. And then we look here at the MACD, which identifies both short and long-term momentum or direction. If you want to find out more about MACD, come hang out with me on Thursdays as I do our mobile coaching sessions and I talk about MACD quite a lot. So looking at MACD, what we're seeing right now is, yes, it is in negative territory on a longer term basis. No surprise, Facebook's been getting beaten up right now, but their earnings have kind of changed that a little bit. And now all of a sudden we're seeing it consolidating as well, giving us confirmation of what we're noticing with the price action. We're seeing that MACD getting tighter and tighter, and you can see it even with the histogram, which represents the difference between the MACD line and the signal line. So you can see that MACD is getting tighter and tighter and kind of consolidating, getting to a point like a spring that once we see it break out of this consolidation here and the price action, we could see the MACD give confirmation of that. and could create an explosive breakout. So while right now Facebook, is kind of in hold territory, we're not really seeing too much saying one way or the other. We do see positive fundamentals, so that's definitely a positive note. But as well, we know what's going on with the market. We know the Fed has pretty much abandoned giving us any sort of relief to this downtrend that they've caused here since the beginning of the year with the rise in interest rates and all of that. So what we're looking for on a short-term technical basis is a breakout. Now, just because we see the price action break above that point doesn't mean that's the day you go ahead and buy. A few key tips that you want to look for is you want to see not only the price close outside of that consolidation or that wedge, but you also want to wait for that next day to see if it gets follow through. And as we talked about earlier, looking at volume can tell you there's conviction behind that move. So when we see that breakout or even the follow through day, we want to see that there's strong volume giving us conviction that that move breaking us out of that consolidation pattern has some more upside potential. If it's on low volume, that tells us not a whole lot of people are buying in yet and tells you to keep your powder dry and then wait another day or be patient and wait for that better opportunity to arise. Now, this is still early. It's still in consolidation. So right now is not the time to go out and go buy it, but keep an eye on it. Keep it on your radar. Keep it in your watch list if you're following with VectorVest and wait until we see that breakout occur. Now, this pattern would be invalidated if we see the price action break below and close below the lower part of this wedge. So this trend line down here. So that is something else to keep an eye on. So with that, that's going to be it. Today should be short, sweet, and simple. Really just wanted to give you guys a trading idea that could help become an easy money-making opportunity. So with that, let me know your thoughts down below on what you think is going to happen. Do you think this could be a potential money-making opportunity? Are you keeping an eye on this consolidation? If it breaks out, are you going to jump on board with it? Let me know once again down in the comments below. So thank you all for coming out and hanging out with me today. I hope you all are doing great. And until next time, take care, adios, and toodles.